All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another broadcast of Let's Talk Real Life with Native Manning. I am your co-host Vernon Garrison, and I'm a certified life coach, and coaches coach life, um, crisis, and things of that nature. We'll talk a bit about that more, but I just wanted to give you a little bit more about my title. I do personal training and sports coaching as well. This is WBISLP 106.9, and it is the greatest station on earth to me. I believe it. You can find the rebroadcast of Let's Talk Real Life with Native Manning on GPAT 23 local access channel here in Pitt County, on their Facebook page, and also on their YouTube accounts. We are covering social media like it should be. We also have a app, YouTube channel and Facebook here. You can download the app for Awesome Radio from your Apple Store or Google Play. Get it, and you will be getting amazing talk shows, beautiful ministry for the whole family. So I must say, get that ASAP. Thank you for watching or listening today. If you're listening in the car, please drive safe. If you are watching a rebroadcast, God's word never go out of date. So, and that's what we try to base this show on. Um, but without further delay, I will say thank you for your comments, sharing, and liking the video. Hope it is food for your spirit, soul, and body. Without further delay, our teacher of the hour and all the hours, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Native Manning. How are you?
Hi. Hello, everybody. I am doing well, and I hope everyone out there under the sound of my voice is doing just as well or better. We are going to continue our show from last week. Take time. We had some areas that we ran out of time on, so we want to carry on with it at this hour. And that is the taking time to care and see about others, check on them, tend to others' needs. Take time to do that. Why? Some of you might say, well, and I've heard it said more than once by different people over the years. Why should I do that? Nobody taking care of me. Nobody's looking after me. Why should I take my little bit of time and go out there and look for somebody else and help them with something, this and that and the other? Who cares? That is a very, 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 I don't even know how to describe it. There's negative, yes, but I have some more words that I would like to use that they're not bad words, but they're pertinent to the description of that type of behavior, that type of attitude. Whether you're in a Christ-like life or not, we are still human beings. We get to choose how we live our lives. We get to choose many things in our lives. We are blessed to be able to choose. And some of our choices, let's face it, is not very, very nice. Because it is, whether you want to believe it or not, all of you out there who are non-believers, don't trust the word because you've been seeing so many different things in your life, different behaviors has caused you to even more not want to follow that type of lifestyle. I want to encourage you today to keep in mind that you are still a human being, and whether you want to be one or not, it is what it is. You're still a human being, and you still have feelings just like any other person. You still have a body that's going to deteriorate at some point. You still have that body that will need some attention from someone else other than yourself. Because yourself might not be in a position to be able to care for yourself. Where you will what? You will need someone else, whether you want them or not, but you will need, there's a difference in wanting and needing. And that's another topic we can talk about in the future. There is a difference in wanting something and needing it. When you are in a position and your body is of some state that is uncomfortable for you, nobody's feeling that but you. Don't nobody else feel that. They might come to you and say, I feel your pain. Do they really feel your pain? Are they really going through what you're going through at that moment? It might be, I don't know, you might have injured your foot or something. Did they injure their foot? So how do they know how you feel? So we have to be careful, as we said in the last show. We want to be careful what we say and how we talk, how we speak. So getting to what we're talking about today, about helping others, seeing after them, checking on them. Many of you know under the sound of my voice that I am a senior, and I do care about seniors because I am one, as my brother told me not too long ago. You're a senior now. Well, I've been a senior for a minute, but it's very, very important, not just for seniors to look after seniors, but for us to look after each other. You don't have to be a senior to need help. You don't have to be a senior to have a body issue or a mental issue or a behavior issue or a mental issue. You don't have to be a senior for that. To have a physical issue, you don't have to be a senior for that. Babies have physical issues. Some of them just got here and they come in the world with physical issues. They need someone to look after them. We that are in a position to help should do so. And I emphasize the word help with an H as opposed to hurt with an H. We're not here to hurt folks. We're here to help them. However way we can help. If you can't help, you certainly should not want to hurt them. But we all know better than that. We're talking real life here. This is Let's Talk Real Life show. I am your host, Nada Manning, and I do talk real life straight from the gut. And when I say things, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. Now, do I make mistakes when I say some things? Sometimes. But I try not to have too many mistakes in what I say, because I am being held accountable for what I say, not just on the show, but in my personal life. Because of who I am and whose I am, I try to encourage you all out there, whether you're a Christian or non-Christian, whether you're a believer or not, you still need some help at some point, some kind of way. If you don't, then help somebody else, because you could be in that position tomorrow. You don't know, the next minute, tonight. And then you sit back and you ask yourself, well, why is this happening? Well, think about what you have not done for somebody. Now, does that mean when you help somebody that you're not going to have any issues? No, that's not what it means. It means that you are putting forth a conscious effort to do the right thing to help somebody else so that you can receive a blessing of some kind. We don't know what that is. We don't know when that is. But how do you think about yourself? Let me ask that question. What do you think of yourself, or how do you think of yourself when you know of a situation and you don't do a thing about it? Absolutely nothing. And you know better. When we know better, we're supposed to do better. We are grown folks here. And those of you who are not grown, you're teenagers, I think you can relate to what I'm saying. If you don't, you should be able to go to an adult in your life to ask the question. But what did Miss Manning mean by that? What? Why should we do all this helping for somebody else? What benefit are we going to get from it? Well, how about a longer life, for one thing? You might get to live a longer life if you choose the right path. Now, you are in a position where you get to choose. You can choose to help or not. You get to choose whatever goes on in your life. You can choose to go down the street. You can choose to go across the street and step right in front of a truck. That's your choice. Not a very wise choice, but you get to choose that. We have a freedom here to do such things. We're talking real life here. I am your host, Nada Manning, and I would encourage you all to tune in as we talk about helping others. Helping others any way you can. You can just take somebody a cup of milk or a piece of bread or a loaf of bread if you can go to the store. If you can go to the store and do that. Offer your help. Open the door for somebody. You see somebody coming to the door, you're going in the store or something, they're in a wheelchair. Well, I think common sense would make most of us hold the door open for that person in that wheelchair. Or they don't have to be in a wheelchair. They can just be somebody that's coming in the same door. Then you stand aside and open the door for them. It don't have to be a male-female thing. Women can open doors for men. There's nothing wrong with that. They're human too. Why can't we do that? That's real life. And everybody don't do that. They'll walk right in and let the door slam in your face. And it happened to me, and when I do catch up with them, I say thank you. And I keep walking. Because I want to give them something to think about. And it's not a bad tone. It's just a gesture that I noticed you not being respectful when you knew I was walking right behind you. Some people don't say anything. Some people just keep on doing what they're doing. And I don't say something all the time. And I do pray about it before I open my mouth, because we know what life can bring us these days with our mouth. You open it up to the wrong person, you might get in trouble. So you say that, and you don't have to take forever to say it as you're walking through the door. After they slam the door in you, well, not slam it, but they didn't hold the door for you. Then you, okay, Lord, now how can I respond to this right here? That take all but 1 second to say that to yourself. And he can take all but 1 second to show you what you should say or not say or keep it moving. The thing is, you are acknowledging it.
I'm going to say this. You sound like you coaching. You sound like the school teacher that just got back to work and the substitute teacher gave a bad report. So your kids cut up while you were gone.
And I have gotten such reports in my life. Huh?
You're a teacher. I know you got plenty of them. And I'm feeling it right now.
Yeah, and I did feel that back in my teaching days when I was younger.
Yeah.
And such things does happen. And again, that's why it's so critical for us when and we're going to talk about the good days and the bad days at some point here. But my point to you all is realize how critical it is how you respond to people that need help. Now, you can't help everybody. Nobody can help everybody. Even the richest person in the world can't help everybody, but they certainly can do better than most of us who are not so rich. How about that? For sure. Okay. Comments.
All right. Well, I'm gonna back you up in there. I'm gonna go up in there with you, and Nancy left some room for me to go in there. Now, what you were talking about in the walk, if people are Christian or not, I'm gonna say this, and I've studied world religions. Most of philosophies have a tone of if you give, you shall receive, or what comes around goes around. There are a lot of philosophers that preach the law of the land or the law of diminishing return. But what Jesus taught in Matthew 16:25 is basically something similar. Now, I can't go all the way too deep in that scripture like that because you got to study for yourself. So if I'm wrong, I'd rather be wrong by myself, whoever's listening. But it says in the context of 16:25, it says, whoever wants to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Now, it goes into the profit area, the profit margin, if you're talking about money, or if you're talking about prior to that, losing a life. Here's some context about it. It says, then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone wants to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So that's submission. That's being transparent. That's being honest and with forethought that you're going to submit to the laws of Christianity or follow Jesus, and you're saying that person needs my help, whatever I'm doing, I'm gonna make the sacrifice. When it comes to what your return is, okay, how do I make money if I just help that person? How do I live if I need help and I'm giving all I got to them? So we're getting really practical here about your subject here, teacher, using the philosophy of Jesus. What, and in 26, verse 26 of Matthew 16 says, what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? So if you gain the whole world, if you get all the profits and you lose your soul, like I said previously in the other episode, you're working 75 hours a week. You got the bag. You got the world. You're looking good. You feeling a man like a man that is a provider. You feeling like a man that is got everything you want for your children. You figure you got third, fourth, fifth generation income, wealth to transfer through your bloodline. In other words, you're feeling good physically. But what's happening spiritually? Is there some collateral damage? Are you the most, I'm going to coach a little bit too, because she was just coaching. Are you the most arrogant person in the room because you got what you got? Turning people off, or do you enjoy making people ask you for money or for favors or ask you for the extra car that you got? Do you enjoy that? Is your life built in gaining the whole world that you are losing the ones that are around you because you think you got what you got, hard work and sacrifice and time and relationships, and you got what you got and they ought to get it the same way? So when you talk about slowing down to give or to help someone, it's tied really close to what you receive. And God is saying when you lose, said whosoever will save his life will lose it, but whosoever loses his life for his sake will find it. There are a lot of, you got to look at society in the way it is now. Let me translate this and then I'll hush up. Robin Williams, one of the, what we call the greatest comedians of all time. He committed suicide. But before then, he made a series of tapes and writings about how depressed he was. He was never happy until he was doing his work. After he was on stage, depression. Before he was on stage, depression. Some of the greatest entertainers of the world and some of the most famous people in the world will tell you how they feel so isolated after they have achieved what they thought was going to make them the happiest person in the world. You don't have to try it. You don't have to test it. You just can read the word right here. And it said, if you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for his sake, you will save it. You got to keep your next address in life in mind. You got to keep the fact that you will suffer in some way in this life if you break the rules of giving and receiving. It's just the way we are all connected. So I want to say great element there, talking about helping other people. And you just don't know when your paycheck is coming. It might come at the beginning of your life of all the wisdom and hurt and suffering and sacrifice you've done. It may not pay you back till you're 40. It may not pay you back till you're 50. And you can't walk. And the person that you helped years ago will tell you, I've had it come up to much as 20 years ago. Man, when I was in that jail cell, Vern, that night you came by and talked to me, man, that really changed my life. That really helped me. The things that you told me years ago when I was a kid and I was in jail. And that, well, I just did 20 years, man. I remember you, Sergeant Garrison. You was a good guy. So whatever's going to happen, do you need for you to try to, I'm going to help this person right now in this wheelchair. I'm getting paid next week. Man, you just don't know. Madam Teacher.
Well, amen. We have a life to live, and we are supposed, it is required of us to live it productively, not selfishly. It is very easy for us to fall into that trail of thinking only of ourselves and what we can get out of something. Well, what's in it for me type attitude. What's in it for you could be a lifelong, productive, success, meaningful life. You don't know how
Honor
it's
thy
going to
mother and thy father.
honor thy mother and their father,
And
and
you will
their
get
days shall
what?
be longer. Thus saith the Lord. We don't have to like everything, but we are supposed to be obedient to what the word is saying for us to do. And again, going back to those non-believers out there who don't want to acknowledge the word, and some of them want to and don't know how to, well, that's where that helper comes in. Hello? That helper, that significant person, that go-to person that you might can think of, somebody that can help you along with you want to, but you don't know how to. Don't use that as an excuse because you just don't know how. No, that's a cop-out. Let's move forward to see what we can do, because the more we do for others, the more will be done for us. And we don't know how it's going to come. If you don't open your fist to give, then your fist going to be closed and won't nothing come out. You got to open it in order to help. So moving along from that, taking time to tend to others because others need our help. And the Lord will make a way. Somehow or another will cross your path, that whoever that is going to cross your path that needs some help. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're coming from, and we certainly don't know when. My suggestion to you, I encourage you all out there under the sound of my voice to pay attention. When you know better, you should do better. When you know of a situation, ask the Lord whether you believe in it or not. Just your heart, he's going to touch your heart anyway. And some of you are going to be rebellious against that because you don't want to believe it. You don't want to accept what's nudging at your heart and in your mind. And you just, well, why does that keep coming up? I'm always thinking about that. Hello, there might be somebody trying to tell you something. Don't take it lightly. Because if you live long enough, your turn is coming. And it can be a good turn or a bad turn. It's totally up to you. We, not just you, me. We, W-E, we, all. I'm not excluded. I'm not exempt. So we all have to be careful how we do when we're trying to reach out to help someone. What's your reason for helping? That's another thing. We can do all these wonderful things for people, but what's the bottom line reason why you're doing what you're doing? Really? It looks good to other folks, but where's your heart in what you're doing, Is it genuine? Or is it for show? Well, guess what? We know who really sees the truth. You know the truth, and we know who else knows the truth. Amen. So now, moving away from that, I want to go into never regret a day in your life, which ties into what we've been saying about helping folks. Never regret a day in your life. You have good days, bad days. You have worse days. You have best days. I want to focus on worst days. Worst days. Worst case scenarios. Wow. Okay. Why do I do that? Why? It's no particular order of the good days, bad days, worst days, or best days. There's no sequence here. I just personally chose to go with the worst days lessons first. I think, and this is my personal opinion, going to the worst day about never regretting a day in our life. We all have good days, bad days, better days, nice days, sunny days, cloudy days. Every day is not sunshine. We know this. And there's no age limit on that. I'm choosing the worst days. And when I say worst days, what comes out of the worst days? I would say lessons. Lessons. Lessons come out of those worst days. Now, why the worst days first? Because I think we learn to appreciate the better days. We learn to appreciate the better days. Case scenario, losses. LOSSES, losses. I can't think of a worse day, and that's me. I can't think of a worse day than having a loss, LOSS. A loss can be a loss is a loss. And I'm thinking as a person, a loss is a loss. Now, loss of a spouse, loss of a parent, loss of a child. And some people, when they lose their dog or their pet, it's a great loss to them. Because some people are very close to their pets. It's understandable. I'm not knocking that. But my point is, we learn to appreciate the better days when we suffer those losses. That means what? Don't quit. Don't give up just because you had a loss. Now, trust me, my personal experience is I know what it's like to lose. And losses, it could be the loss of a job. It could be loss of a car, loss of your home, loss of life in the sense of all of your dreams are lost. I think I can relate that to what's going on in the current world with the who is that coach? The I can't think of the war that's going on over there with the people and their losses. I don't have it written down, but many of you can relate to what I'm saying. With the families and all, they lost their homes and their livelihood. Those are losses. Those are all losses. And there's no good feeling about a loss, except we learn to appreciate the better days. Now, say you did lose your home and you're homeless. When you do get up on your feet a little bit better, we can appreciate those days. Because why? We remember when. Now that's a material thing, like a home. Let's talk about I don't know, a relationship like your parents. Some of us are fortunate or unfortunate, and I say fortunate or unfortunate with the loss of a family member, because if we look at it in the sense of being better days, we don't know who we can help. Going back to the help thing. If we survive the loss, and that's key, survival. If we survive the loss, how do we know when, where, or who we might need to help them through their loss? Because you've gained strength from surviving your loss. And that's how we're being used when it comes to helping others. You don't always have to help others financially. It's not always about money. It could be about your time, your energy, your encouraging words. Sometimes it can just be a hug. Again, going back to the talking, You don't always have to talk. Some people just want somebody to listen, just to be there. Don't say anything. In a hospital room, in case you had a loss in the hospital. Many times, just being there, sitting beside them, just being in their presence, just hold their hand. Don't have to say anything. Just knowing you are there shows that you care enough to spend that time. Sacrifice. That's what it's about. Sacrificing. You have a comment, Coach?
All right, I'm just going to summarize everything that you were saying. In the Bible, we're going to look at Ecclesiastes 3, the New International Version. I'm not going to give out some big, theological point here. I'm just going to summarize it all. And it says, there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to tear down, a time to build, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search, a time to give up, a time to keep, and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, and a time of war, time for war, and a time for peace. You see, what do workers gain from their toil? And it goes on to explain. I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from the beginning to the end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live. That each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. And I know that everything God does will endure forever, and nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken from it. God does it so people will fear him. We have to lead a life based on what God says, and that's uncertainty. We just have to walk by faith and not by sight. The moment we think we know everything, that's when we're going to find out we don't know anything. So, but there's a time in the cyclonic nature of the seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall, we've done things that even sort of mess that up a little bit, or a lot, or God has allowed it to happen because it's just based on the way we toil around on this earth, that we messing the environment up, or the earth is just wearing out like an old wallet. It's just getting old, older, and but God is in control though. He got the seasons in his hand, and he just basically, I read all of those verses, and there isn't too much that he hadn't accounted for that we can surprise him. But we get surprised when somebody, let's say, leaves us unexpectedly. And I can't say that, it has happened to me too many times, but I've lost some friends in transition from earth to another world. But we have to know that we must be grateful every single moment. Something that's really going well with me every time I get a chance to talk to some of the younger people that's around me. I say the moment that we got right now, right here, we're talking, this moment here is what's important. Tomorrow's not promised. Yesterday is pretty much gone if you look at time. So this moment that we're talking over the air, that we're speaking with people and that we're living, this is what we got. And we should be grateful for that moment. And am I saying be grateful in whatever condition you're in? Some people are leaving the earth right now. Some people are bleeding. Some people are having heart attacks. Some people are not fortunate right now, if we want to look at that. I can't tell them how to feel. And I don't want to say, but I'll say it is what God's will is for us to know that there's a time for everything, but we won't know exactly what that time is. He got night and day, the moon, the sun, the stars. He got enough that we can have hope for tomorrow that, we'll live. But somebody was saying the other day, and this is the last thing I'll say, and I've been trying to remember since we started this subject. They said, if we were never told we were going to die, how would we live? Will we waste the time? Now, they didn't say this part, what I'm saying now, but they just said that statement. But will we waste the time, or will we not worry so much about how we're going to live? Because we think we're going to live forever, or will we be arrogant and think we'll live forever? How would we live if we didn't know?
Yeah, how would we live if we didn't know we were going to die?
Yes, if nobody told us, because somebody had to tell you when you were born. They did say this part. I won't take credit. You were born. Oh, I know who said it. Prince. When you were born, that was your birthday. And if you didn't have another birthday in life, you're not going to have another birthday. He was saying that there's only one birthday, and that's the date you were born. That's it.
One death day.
That's it.
Right.
So, and then he said, if nobody ever told you were going to die, when you obviously realized that it was a certain age, somebody told you, how would you live? We would be, if we lived right, if you looked at it as a positive comment, we would be like really thankful for the time. And like, we can, if you're having a good life, you're like, man, I could go fishing every day forever or, retire and still live a great life. And I'm not going to die. I'll be around for all my kids, great grandkids and the like. But it was sort of a real statement. I know it's hypothetical, but somebody did have to tell you, or you found out some way, shape, form, or fashion that we were going to die. Mm-hmm. And, that had an influence on us.
And I would dare say my response to that would be, if we got older meaning able to school age,
mm-hmm.
and someone happened to not be around anymore, that would be an indication right there to learn that we're not here to stay. It's not a good feeling to learn that as a child. Well, how come I don't see grandma anymore? I haven't been seeing granddad come around in a while. Are they ever going to come back and see us? Where are they? So we can learn at an early stage that we are not going to be around forever. There are different ways. That I'm just saying that to simplify your statement.
Right.
But if we were to know if we were going to stick around, how would we live? That's a good question. Will we live like we're living now? Or will we try to live a better life because we want to go to heaven and be in a better place up there? But in order to be up there, we got to live a certain way down here. Children don't know all of that. You don't learn that until you get older, teenage on up to young adults and that kind of thing. So Anyway, don't quit.
What's next?
About the loss. Okay, do we learn a lesson from the first time or not when we have a loss? This is about worst days.
Yes.
Do we learn or not from our worst days? And it don't have to be a loss. It could be anything that's bad. I mean, I just said loss. It could be, I don't know, a bad day. Right now, we go around and we say, how was your day today? Well, how much time you got? Now, I'm guilty of saying that. That sometimes is my response. I'll say, how much time you got? And that doesn't mean that I had a bad day. It meant that I had a fulfilled day. And how much time do you have to listen to all of it? It don't have to be negative. It depends on my body language when I say how much time you got. How much time you got?
So the question is again, ask the question again. Or make the statement.
The question is, do we learn the first time from a loss?
Wait, do you?
Okay. Loss can be okay. Let me say this: a loss can be anything. You can lose.
Yeah.
You can fail a test. You can go to the DMV and fail the test, and you won't get your license. That's a loss.
See,
Because
I'm gonna make
why? Huh?
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish your statement. Go ahead.
Why is that a loss? Because you won't be able to drive. You might have a vehicle at home that you can't drive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a loss to you because now you're deprived of the privilege of driving until you go back and pass that test. Success can be a loss in that you didn't get the job that you wanted. How are you going to respond to that? Are you going to go and apply for another job? Or are you just going to quit looking? Are you going to go back and try to get those licenses again? Or are you going to quit trying?
You know what?
Worst days. Remember, we talk about worst days and lessons learned to appreciate the better days. When you do get them driver's license, I like to think that you're going to really be happy about it. You're going to do everything you can to keep from getting tickets because you don't want to lose them again. I told my story. It took me 3 tries to get North Carolina license when I came. And I was 61 years old, 60. Been driving all my life, but I couldn't pass North Carolina's driver's test. Did I give up? Did I get discouraged? I got discouraged, but I didn't quit because I knew I needed to get my license. If I'm going to drive in North Carolina, or I go back where I came from and drive there, and that wasn't going to happen. So we have that attitude that we're going to push forward no matter what. If we really want something and it's the right thing to get, then we keep trying. We don't give up. We don't quit. That's what I'm saying about worst days. Lessons learned from your worst days is to appreciate those better days. And I was mighty happy when I got them driver's license after 3 times of failing it.
So now here's a couple of ways to look at that. I'm gonna say winning is relevant to what you thought you wanted or what you thought you needed. And everybody say he's trying to be complicated. Yeah, I'm gonna be complicated right here because if you win the lottery, that could have been the worst thing in the world to happen to you.
You think that's the worst thing that could happen?
Still 85%. Look it up, Google it, whatever you want to do. Still the majority of people that win the lottery, it ruins their life.
It's what?
But I'm just saying, say again.
It's what? It's what to their life?
It ruins their life.
If they win the lottery, it ruins their life.
At one time, it was as high as 85% of the people that won the lottery, that won all of that money, their life was worse after they got the money than it was before they got the money.
Okay.
Now, that's 8 out of 10 people. Now, most of us, we saying, wow, well, if I get that money, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. That's why I'm just throwing a little kink and saying winning is not always winning. It's just you got something that you wanted. And another thing I'd say, if you got what you wanted and you overused it and in excess, then you might be doing something that's detrimental to your health. Because you got everything you wanted, you're hurting somebody else. Collateral damage. But back to your basic winning and your basic definition of success. Now I'm gonna go on back to your level. Do we learn from a loss? Right? Yeah, you said bring it back down. Do we learn from a loss? I would say, okay, I got one. This is not too deep. In a sports relationship, you got 2 teams that competing with each other. In order for the game to be over, somebody's gonna win and somebody's gonna lose, ain't it? You see that dual result, unless you have a tie game. Somebody won and they are very happy, and somebody else lost. Because you won and you beat out somebody else competitively, is that what favors God. And I'd say not all the time, because the strong survive. I don't go for that all the time. Just because I can pick up more watermelons than you can, and do I have the right to go out there and scoop up all of them, all the potatoes, or all the money, or So the strong survive is what we use to determine if we win or not in a lot of situations. So I'm gonna go back to what we said in the other show. If you try to save your life, you're gonna lose it. If you following Christ, if you lose your life, you're gonna gain it. So, do we learn from losses? I'm gonna answer your question right now and say, not all the time.
And that's a good answer, because I was going to say it depends. It depends on what the loss is. And that's it in a nutshell right there. It depends on what the loss is, and it depends on your attitude after you lose.
And when you win too.
Huh?
When you win. Yeah.
It depends. It depends on your attitude. Whether you win or lose, it depends on your attitude.
That's it right there. I like that.
That's right. It's exactly right. And what are you going to do? How are you going to benefit from that loss? What is it going to do to you mentally and emotionally from that loss? That tells you what? That you're not going to always win every time, everything. You're not supposed to. If you win all the time, then when is somebody else going to win? Again, it's going back to the selfishness. You don't supposed to want to win all the time. Like you said, somebody got to lose sometime. You both can't win. Well, then again, I was going to say everybody can't win, but I beg to differ that because if one person can win, it depends on the loser can win also, depending on the situation.
2 minutes left in the show. 2 minutes left in the show. I just looked at the clock. 2 minutes to go. See, are we winning or are we losing? 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the show.
Okay.
Time, right?
Yeah. The point is, from this whole segment right here of worst days is a lesson to be learned. It's a lesson to be learned to the winner or the loser. You learn a lesson. The winner can know that and believe and trust that they're not going to win all the time. And the same thing for the loser. The losses that you have does not mean you're going to always lose your car. You might get other cars out there you can get, that kind of thing, that type of scenario. It's not the end of the world if you lose, folks. We talking real life here. I am your host, Nada Manning. We're coming up to the end of the show. And it slipped up on me because I was just getting ready to get into something real.
I know. I'm glad you cut it off. 40 seconds. 45 seconds.
Yeah. But it has been a joy. We are not done, but we're going to cut it off for now because, again, we're talking about never regretting a day in your life. And the question is, why? Why won't you regret a day in your life? That part right there about your worst days is not a regret. That's something that you can learn something from. That's a lesson to be learned behind that worst day. There's a reason why you had that bad day. Amen. And it does not always have to be the end of the world.
I better do the station identification. This has been a broadcast of WBIS LP 106.9. Let's Talk Real Life with Miss Nada Manning. See you guys next time. Thank you for joining us.
Still had a minute left.